Chapter 2. He tries to rise, and the feeling vanishes. Rising is difficult, surprisingly so, and he fails. He feels terrifyingly weak, his muscles resisting even the simple command to stand. Just the effort to sit fully upright leaves him winded, and he has to stop for a moment, panting again. He reaches out to grab a sturdy-looking plant by the side of the path to try to rise once more, and pulls his hand back immediately when short spikes prick his fingers. It's not a regular plant at all. It's a weed, grown staggeringly tall. The flower bed that lines the path to the door of the house have all grown extraordinarily wild, much higher than the low stone dividing walls on either side. The shrubberies among them look like they're almost living creatures reaching out to him, poised to do him harm if he moves too close. Other weeds, enormous weeds, 3, 4, even 6 feet high, have blazed through every inch of dirt and every possible crack in the pavement. One of them crushed underneath him where he lay. He tries again to rise, finally making it up, though he sways dangerously for a moment. His head is overweighted with grogginess, and he's still shivering. The white bandages around him are in no way warm, nor are they even, he notices with alarm, covering him properly as clothing. His legs and torso are wrapped tightly, his arms too, and most of the width of his back. Bafflingly, though, the entire area from his belly button to the middle of his thighs is naked to the world, front and back, his most private parts unthinkably out in the morning sun. He frantically tries to pull down the too scanty fabric to cover himself, but it sticks tightly to his skin. He covers himself with his hand and looks around to see if anyone has seen him, but there's no one. No one at all. Is this a dream, he thinks? The words coming to him slowly, thickly, as if from a great distance. The last dream before death? Every yard is as overgrown as this one. Some that had lawns are now sprouted fields of grass shoulder high. The pavement in the road is cracked too, with more weeds almost obscenely tall growing right out of the middle, a few approaching the status of trees. There are cars parked along the road, but they're covered in thick layers of dust and dirt, blinding every window, and nearly every one has sunk under 4 deflated tires. Nothing is moving. There are no cars coming down the road, and from the look of the weeds, no car has driven down here in an impossibly long time. The road to his left carries on until it meets a much wider street, one that looks like it should be a busy, bustling main road. There are no cars driving there either, and he can see a gigantic hole has opened up across it, 40 or 50 feet wide, out of which a whole glade of weeds seems to be growing. He listens. He can't hear a single motor anywhere, not on this street or the next. He waits for a long moment, then a long moment more. He looks down the other end of the road on his right, and through the gap between 2 apartment buildings, he can see some raised train tracks and feels himself listening for the trains that might run on them. But there are no trains, and no people. If it's the morning that it seems to be, people should be coming out of their houses, getting in their cars, driving to work, or if not, then walking their dogs, delivering the mail, heading off to school. The streets should be full. Front doors should be opening and closing, but there is no one. No cars, no trains, no people. And this street, now that he can see more of it as his eyes and mind begin to clear a little more, even the geography of it looks strange. These houses are crammed together, all stuck in a line, with no garages or big front yards and only the narrowest of alleys between every 4th or 5th house. Nothing like his own street back home. In fact, this doesn't look like an American street at all. It looks almost English. The word clangs around his head. It feels important, like it's desperately trying to latch onto something, but his mind is so foggy, so shocked and confused. It only heightens his anxiety. It's a word that's wrong. That's very wrong. He wavers a little and has to catch his balance on one of the sturdier-looking bushes. He feels a strong urge to go inside, to find something to cover himself with. And this house, he frowns at it. What is it about this house? Surprising himself, without even feeling as if he's decided to, he takes an unsteady step toward it, nearly falling. He still struggles to articulate his thoughts. He cannot say why he's walking toward the house, why it might be anything other than an instinct to get inside, to get out of this weird, deserted world. But he's also aware that all of this, whatever it is, feels so much like a dream that only dream logic can possibly apply. He doesn't know why, but the house draws him, so he goes. He reaches the front steps over a crack running along the lowest one, and stops before the door. He waits there a moment, not quite knowing what to do next, not quite sure how it will open, or what he'll do if it's locked, but he reaches for it. It swings open at his lightest touch. A long hallway is the first thing he sees. The sun is really shining now, filling the clear blue sky behind him, so warm that it must be some kind of summer. So warm he can already feel it burning his exposed skin, too pale, too fair to be under such harsh light. But even in this brightness, the hallway almost disappears in darkness halfway down. You can almost just see the staircase at the end, leading up to the floors above. Before the stairs, on the left, is the doorway that leads into the main house. There are no lights on inside, and no sound. He looks around again. There's still no drone of machinery or engines from anywhere. But he notices for the first time that there's no buzz of insects either, no calls of birds, not even any wind through the foliage. Nothing but the sound of his own breathing. He stands there for a moment. He feels hideously unwell and so weak, so tired. He can almost lay down on this doorstep right here and sleep forever, just forever, and never wake up. He steps inside the house instead, hands on either wall to keep himself steady. He moves slowly forward every second thinking he's going to be stopped, that he's going to hear a voice demanding to know what he's doing trespassing in a strange house. As he stumbles into the shadows, though, his eyes not adjusting to the change in light as fast as they should, he can feel dust under his feet so thick it seems inconceivable that anyone has been here in a long, long time. It gets darker the farther he goes, and this seems wrong somehow. The blast of the sun through the open door not illuminating anything, just making the shadows heavier and more threatening to his bleary eyes. He fumbles on, seeing less and less, reaching the bottom of the stairs, but turning from them, still hearing nothing, no sounds of inhabitation, no sounds of anything at all except himself. Alone. He pauses before the doorway to the living room, feeling a fresh thrust of fear. Anything could be in the darkness. Anything could be silently waiting for him. But he forces himself to look in, letting his eyes get used to the light. When they do, he sees. Caught in a few beams of dusty sunlight from the closed blinds at the front, he sees a simple, plain living room merging into an open dining area on his right, leading to a doorway through to the kitchen at the back of the house. There is furniture here, like any normal room, except it's all covered in dust so thick it's like an extra cloth draped over everything. The boy, exhausted still, tries to make the shapes match up to the words in his head. His eyes adjust to the light more, the room becoming more of itself, taking shape, revealing details. Revealing the horse screaming above the mantelpiece. A crazed eye, a tongue like a spike, trapped inside a burning world, looking at him from behind a picture frame. Looking right at him. The boy cries out at the sight of it because all at once he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt, the realization coming like a tidal wave. He knows where he is.